Hi, everybody. It's Pastor Brian here with today's youth devotion. And I'm doing this from my kitchen today because it's raining outside. I was going to do it outside, but we're having a really bad rainstorm right now. When we think about the rain, I always want to think about how God is giving us the things that we need, and we need the rain. We do, and it's not always the most convenient thing for us, but it's something we need. But I'm actually not even here to talk to you about the rain today. I'm here to talk to you about Batman. So yes, this is Pastor Brian's very own Batman figure. I've always liked the character of Batman, and what I really appreciate about this Batman figure is that he is blue and gray. When I was a kid, most of the cartoons that had Batman on them had this color scheme. So this reminds me of when I was a kid. But I want to talk a little bit about Batman today because of what's been going on in the world. So let's just say this. You may be seeing some images on TV that are pretty scary. You might be seeing some images of cities that are on fire, buildings that are on fire. You might see images of people who are hurting each other and doing violent acts towards each other. And I want to talk a little bit about that because I want to talk about who we are as people who follow Jesus Christ and what that should mean for you. So, first of all, let's talk about Batman. He's a vigilante in the comic books, and a vigilante is a word for somebody who kind of fights outside of the police, outside of the law. Now, it is totally okay to read about the adventures of a vigilante. It is not okay in real life to be a vigilante. To take arms up against people. And you might even see sometimes in cartoons or in comic books or in movies Batman punching somebody in the face. That's obviously not something that we're supposed to do as people. So let me also say this. Batman comes from a universe where there are like these super powered criminals with strange abilities and can do all of these things. We don't have that in our life, in real life. Batman's a fictional character. We should not try to be Batman in the world. Because I think most of us would fail. Certainly, your pastor would fail. I couldn't fit into the suit. You see, he has chiseled muscles. if your pastor was Batman, he'd have a big old belly right there. The other part of this is that we have to understand that a lot of anger is out there in the world right now, and I really think some of the reason this anger is out there is because we're restless as a people. And part of the reason we're restless is because for the past 3 months or so, we've all had to be inside. And that's done things to us. And there were reasons we had to be inside. People can disagree about those as well. But regardless, however you feel about the motivation, it made us all restless. And you've probably been restless before. You've probably felt like you just had to go somewhere or do something and you couldn't. Maybe you were home with your parents and they wanted you to get your schoolwork done and you really wanted to go do something else and that made you restless, kind of antsy. I think in general our world is like that right now. We're all antsy because we've all been inside. I'll be honest, I really felt that restlessness probably about the second or third week in, and it was pretty intense for me. And I didn't go out and hit anybody, but then also what has motivated some of this is that there was a man who was killed because of the color of his skin, and I don't think I've seen a single person say that was okay. Um, I have heard some people say that racism isn't real, and well, that's just not true. Racism is real. There are people who treat others less than because of the color of their skin. The reality is there probably always will be people like that. But I believe that God's people have a very special role in the world, especially in this time. And it's to be fair and kind to people, regardless of anything about them that might make them different, including the color of their skin. It's really important. And you don't, being a kind person, being a fair person, has nothing to do with throwing fists at each other or destroying property or anything like that. It has nothing to do with throwing tear gas canisters at people. It has nothing to do with showing manly might against people. No, being kind, being fair, and practicing God's mercy to people, that's harder than any of that stuff. You know, it's easy to push somebody, to shove. I can do that right now. Michelle's right across the table. I could shove her if I wanted to. I don't think she's giving me a face that tells me she wouldn't like it very much. I'm not really going to do that. Being strong in our faith compels us to act with that kindness, with that mercy, and even in that justice that Jesus had in his life. And that's a challenging thing for us. It's really easy to see people destroying things on TV and get angry about it. If I'm going to be honest with you, I've seen some of those images and they've riled me up a little bit. But anger that responds to anger, hate that responds to hate, and fear that responds to fear, that is not our way. We're supposed to pay back those things with love, with mercy, and with kindness, not with aggression. It's very telling to me that at the end of Jesus' life, you know, he was brought before Pilate, before the Roman governor of his time, and he was brought before Herod, the king of his time, and he would have had the opportunity to act in aggression against those people, and he didn't. He didn't. He, even in the midst of facing his own death, acted with gentleness. So I want to encourage you, no matter how young or old you are, to be gentle, to be merciful, to be gracious, and to be kind. Martin Luther had a phrase for this. Martin Luther, when he talked to his church in the 1500s, he would say, "It is our job as Christians to consider everybody's actions in the best possible light." And so that what that means for you and what that means for me is we have to look at somebody and not judge them for the 5 or 6 seconds of negativity we might see about them displayed on the news. That we consider what brought them to this point. That we consider the times where we may have not been perfect and when we have made mistakes. And we know that in those times, you know, when we do something wrong, we want our parents to forgive us. We want the people we live with to forgive us. We want them to be kind to us. So therefore, that kindness, we should then afford other people. We should give that kindness to other people. And we should try the best we can to not let our lives be ruled by anger and aggression. So I want to challenge you to do that this week. Do that with your brothers and sisters and your parents. Be kind. Because this world needs your kindness right now. Because the world needs your love right now. The same love that made Jesus sacrifice himself for you. All right, that's going to close our youth devotion today. I hope everybody's having a good beginning of June, and we'll be talking about some things we might be able to do together very shortly. Peace.